call for attacks on churches. But again, the main point here that officials are stressing that there is no credible threat against any of these locations. These bulletins, not really anything new during the holiday season. We have seen these happen before. What is different here, though, is that this specifically calls out churches, which would be the ultimate in soft targets. Victor and Allison, typically what we see, though, from these kinds of bulletins are some of these threats that are flagged by officials against, for example, military or perhaps law enforcement institutions. But again, the main point that officials are making this Christmas Eve is don't necessarily be afraid, just be on alert as you head out to meet up with your loved ones, guys.
All right, Paula, thanks.
You bet.
All right, breaking details this morning in the Berlin Christmas market attack. A senior Italian counterterrorism official tells CNN the attacker had hallmarks of being on the run alone when he was killed in a shootout with police in Milan yesterday. This new information emerging as new video of Anis Amri pledging his allegiance to ISIS begins to circulate now. Now, in this video, Amri says he would serve ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and vowed to slaughter the, quote, crusaders who are shelling the Muslims every day. But he doesn't refer to Monday's attack that left 12 dead. One of those victims, the body of an Italian woman, has just been transported to Rome. Our Nina Dos Santos joins us now from Milan, where that gunman died. And I understand that you spoke with counterterrorism officials. How did authorities conclude that he escaped alone, or that he was on the run alone?
Well, they don't know for definite whether he didn't have any help. What they are saying here, Victor, is that they don't have any evidence of him having any help. And they're basing that on CCTV footage that they've found from him passing through two major Italian train stations on his way towards this suburb in the northeastern part of Milan. So what they've said is they've seen him alone passing through the stations of Turin in the northwest of Italy and then through the main central station of Milan, from where he managed to, it seems, catch a bus and end up in this rather random car park outside another local train station. The big question from here is, where was he heading from here? Well, we know that buses do depart from this car park towards the Balkans. We know that there are jihadist networks operating in the Balkans, but they also leave for southern Italy. And remember that Anis Amri arrived in southern Italy when he first stepped foot in Europe. He spent 4 years in a jail in Sicily, and members of his own family had speculated that he might have been radicalized in that very jail in the south of Italy. So was he heading south? Was he heading back to his native Tunisia? We don't know that either. I can tell you that buses depart for places like Algeria and Morocco from this parking lot. I saw one depart yesterday evening. Those are the kinds of lines of investigation that authorities will be trying to piece together from here, but no evidence at the moment that he had any help. When it comes to what he had on his person, they also say that his belongings are rather scarce. He had 3 pairs of trousers, one on top of another, and he had a backpack. Inside that backpack, he had no cell phone, no credit cards, just over $1,000 in local currency, in euro, in cash. And so they're trying to figure out, where was he going? Had he just managed to grab those belongings and headed on the run?
Nina, we know that Anis Amri's mother is speaking exclusively with CNN. What are we learning from that conversation?
Yeah, she spoke to CNN yesterday in the immediate aftermath of learning that her son had died in this gun battle with 2 Italian officers. And she said that she didn't believe that he was a terrorist. She said that authorities should have apprehended him but not killed him, because then they would have had more information as to exactly whether he was radicalized, what he was doing. Let's have a listen to what she had to say.
I want the truth about what happened to my son. I want the Tunisian and German government to tell me what happened to my son. We want the truth about my son, who died as a suspect, and the truth died with him. They think he was a terrorist? No, my son was not a terrorist. They should have arrested him and conducted an investigation.
Members of Anis Amri's family have said that they haven't actually had contact with him for several years since he left his native Tunisia for Europe. But in the meantime, you heard there the mother talking about how German authorities should give her some information. Well, German authorities are here on Italian soil working with Italian agents to try and piece together how he made it from Berlin to Italy. Back to you.
All right, Nina Dos Santos for us there in Milan. Thank you so much.
There is new diplomatic fallout this morning after the U.S. refused to veto a highly controversial UN resolution defying pressure from Israel and also from President-elect Trump. Israel says it will not comply with the new resolution, which condemned the construction of Israeli settlements in East Jerusalem and the West Bank. And now Israel is retaliating against two of the countries that sponsored the measure. It's also offering sharp parting words for the Obama administration. CNN Oren Lieberman has the latest for us from Jerusalem. So, Oren, what are you hearing? What's the reaction from Israelis, especially the 500,000 or so who are settled in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, including 60,000 Americans in those areas as well?
Well, they're furious, just like Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is furious, not only at the UN and the Security Council members who introduced this resolution, but also at President Barack Obama for not vetoing this resolution. We have never seen criticism like this coming from Netanyahu aimed at President Barack Obama. We knew these two didn't get along, but this is a deterioration, a rapid deterioration of that relationship in its final days. Listen to this statement from Netanyahu's office. The Obama administration not only failed to protect Israel against this gang-up at the UN, it colluded with it behind the scenes. Israel looks forward to working with President-elect Trump and with all our friends in Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, to negate the harmful effects of this absurd resolution. Netanyahu saying that Israel won't abide by the resolution and also making it very obvious he's done working with Obama and is already looking forward to President-elect Trump. Meanwhile, Palestinian leadership is rejoicing at this resolution, very happy it went through. They say it is long overdue to hold Israel responsible for settlements in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem.
All right, CNN's Oren Lieberman, thanks so much for that report. Let's continue the conversation now with CNN politics reporter Eugene Scott. Good morning, Eugene. You look at the Obama administration and its relationship, specifically President Obama's relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu. It hasn't been good over the past 8 years, and this is just kind of an end. This is ending on an ugly note. The perception here is that President Obama did pretty much make a parting shot, kind of giving Netanyahu the finger on his way out the door.
Yes, based on what you just shared, this is not that big of a surprise. I think people would have liked to have seen things in more positively, those who are more sympathetic to conservative movements in Israel. But President Barack Obama has made it known repeatedly that he would prefer a two-state solution to what we have happening right now. And this is not a position that Prime Minister Netanyahu has shared.
Okay, you look at what U.S. Ambassador of the UN, Samantha Power, said after abstaining from the vote. Listen to this.
Israeli settlement activity in territories occupied in 1967 undermines Israel's security, harms the viability of a negotiated two-state outcome, and erodes prospects for peace and stability in the region. Today, the Security Council reaffirmed its established consensus that settlements have no legal validity. The United States has been sending the message that the settlements must stop privately and publicly for nearly 5 decades.
Okay, so she says that the vote was consistent with the president's positions in past years, going all the way back at least to Ronald Reagan. So many people are saying, well, why the backlash now?
Well, the backlash now, I think it's in part because we do have a new president-elect in control, will soon be in about 4 weeks, and Congress as well, that is definitely more sympathetic to what we are seeing coming from the Israeli government. President Barack Obama, as was just mentioned, hasn't done anything significantly different from what past U.S. governments have done, but I think there are people who got behind Trump who would like to see a more right turn in Israel and would have liked to see President Obama and the U.S. government be sympathetic to that as things towards the end of the year.
You know, many are wondering, after watching what happened in Syria, in Aleppo specifically, why the UN went ahead and took this action and took it in such a way that you look at the chamber applauding when this resolution passed, but why the UN didn't take action, any condemnation about Syria. It could be part of the reason why you saw President-elect Trump jumping in and tweeting this yesterday, saying, as to the UN, things will be different after January 20th. Do you think this is a warning that Trump may pull financial support from the UN?
I think it's possible based on what he has campaigned on in the past. He's given reason to believe that he definitely thinks the United Nations is not spending money in the way that he thinks best benefits American interests and allies. He's also called on people to his team, especially his nominated ambassador to Israel, that would be more sympathetic to a more right shift. And he thinks the direction in which Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to take the country is more consistent with his ideas for not only the UN, but U.S. and Israeli relations as well.
All right, Eugene Scott, thanks so much for waking up early with us and giving us your perspective.
Thanks.
All right, nice letters, some tweeting nods of agreement, and threats of boosting nuclear capabilities. President-elect Donald Trump is shaking up decades of U.S.-Russian diplomacy, and, he's still got weeks until he's in the office.